Yeah. Welcome back to What's the Point Anyway? I'm your host, Luke, and thanks for joining me today. This was my conversation with Davey Lloyd, and Davey is a former contestant on the reality TV show The Bachelor, a show that he was actually on 3 times. But just over a year ago, he had a drug-induced seizure, which caused him to actually die, and he came back from life through that experience and has spent the last year and a bit trying to rehabilitate himself, trying to get off drugs, alcohol, every other addiction that's plagued him basically for all of his adult and teenage life. It was a really interesting chat because he, by his own admission, doesn't have it all worked out. But this was an example of someone that probably for the first time I've had come on and really be in the midst of trying to sort of rebuild themselves and work out ultimately big questions and meaning of life. Just a note, it's probably an R-rated episode. We talk about drugs a lot. There's a lot of language, so if that offends, I don't know, maybe turn it off or just be prepared. We recorded it over 2 sessions, so it does break sort of in the middle, but I just continue it, and it will all play as one recording. I hope you enjoy. Thanks so much. Brilliant. Well, mate, so thanks for coming on. I listened to you. I think I actually probably watched The Bachelor back when you were on it. So you sort of had like a familiar face. But I listened to your episode with Ash Butters, which was awesome. I didn't really. I thought you had a familiar face, but I had no idea really what your story was. And listening on that, I loved how like open and honest you were. And I thought, I mean, with this podcast, the title's What's the Point Anyway? So I bring people on with like different worldviews and we just talk through what is your perspective on like what the point of life is.
Oh, we could get fucking deep here, mate.
I know, because
Mate, this is great because like I've gone from like full round earther to maybe like flat earther because I'm just being deep into the rabbit hole of like, are we under this fucking whatever the dome and what's behind ice walls and stuff, and I've contemplated my existence really.
Yeah.
Either way is fucking mental. Sorry, we'll get into that, but like this is perfect. I'm up for a chat like this.
I'm looking forward to it. So let me start with this. I was sort of thinking about how you might answer this because you're an interesting guest because you're on this journey and then you've just opened up on it then that you're like deep down rabbit holes and trying to work it out. So what's your answer now? What do you think the point is right now at this point in time? And then maybe we'll talk through how you've got here, what it used to be and what you think it might end up being.
Sweet. What I think of life right now, honestly, is like I want to enjoy every moment.
Yeah.
At this next year, I don't want to fucking save all my money for a property and do that. Like I'm living in the now.
Yeah.
I guess it's not the right way to be, but like if we live in this fucking dome, if we're just one speck in the universe, like why am I working so hard to buy a property that I can't afford, to be in debt for 40 years? I know people will be like, well, it's to make more money. And I understand that. I understand like, you can make money from property and you're doing this and you're doing that. But where I live, it's almost impossible for me to buy a property.
Yeah.
So, I'm enjoying my life. I'm taking different avenues in like professions. I'm like, each day I'm trying to do something different until I can find what fits my purpose.
Yeah.
And that's like, because I'm not tied into a mortgage, because I don't have kids or a wife, I'm using this time to just be as free as I can be, because something good I'm hoping will come back to the universe for me. And I'll be like, fuck yeah, I'm not stuck in the same dead end job doing what I hated for so long. I'm not triggered by other people. I'm actually passionate about what I'm doing and I can make a career out of this. Because I've done building for so long, like 17 years, there's so many triggers. And as we just said before, it's getting harder and harder to get your building license. Like I don't have my builder's license because I'm going under a threshold. And usually when I do my external works and stuff like that, I usually subcontract other trades. And because I'm starting to get my sort of clientele up, I get them to bill them separately, and then they go under their license. So the plumbers or the sparkies or the tilers and waterproofers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if I want to be a builder for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, we're in a I mean, you're in Sydney, I'm in Melbourne. There's similar sort of cultures, but we're in very much like a rat race culture, isn't it? Like I moved sort of an hour out of the city. To be honest, I wish I could even go further, but I just feel like I'm surrounded by conversations about what school we went to, where we're buying a property, what we think property prices are doing in the next 12 months, and how hard everyone's
Mm,
working and how busy they are. It's like there has to be more to it than this.
absolutely.
So when you
And I always used to think like, say that again, sorry, just
no
cut
no
out.
no you keep going and then I'll jump in after.
My ADHD's made me forget. So you ask the questions, and it might come back in a bit.
Cool. Well, we got two ADHD guys having a conversation here, so apologies to everyone checking in, trying to keep up with it. But
But
what I
yeah,
was
and,
gonna
and I don't want to look. I don't want to look at the camera because I'm looking at
a black
directly at
screen.
myself.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking at myself. So I'm looking outside, and things are distracting me. So I'm just going to try to maybe focus in.
All good. Now, what I wanted to ask is when you gave that answer about like very much sort of living in the now and taking what comes and being in life for what it is that, and we'll get into this more, you went through this fairly sort of tumultuous rock bottom, what, a year and a half or so ago now. How different is
Yeah.
that perspective now to what it might have been 2 or 3 years ago? The thing that came to mind is that sort of answer might have been similar to what you were like a few years ago. I'm interested to know like how much that's
No,
changed.
it's completely changed
Right. Okay.
because all I ever want, I lived in this like, I don't even know what you could call it, like this fake pretense of like life.
Yeah.
Thought I always wanted to be. I still do want to buy a property for sure. I think that would be one of the biggest achievements that I will make. But in
Yeah.
today's culture, you're so pressured to have kids, have
Yeah.
marriage, buy a property, do this and do everything by the book. And I'm just like, fuck that. It's so much pressure that
Yeah.
like I want to take. It's almost like when people finish their studies and they go on like a hiatus for a year or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
doing that when I'm 35.
What?
I would always regret it if I was stuck doing building for the rest of my life. Because don't get me wrong, it's great and I can fall back on it. But like, man, my body's over it. Like I'm
Yeah.
dealing with clients. It's always money. There's always like so many things with people that work for me now. Like I've got guys, and one of them loves to smoke bongs every night, and his memory gets a bit hazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just like, fuck, I can't deal with it sometimes. And I was like, imagine how bad I was. At least he turns up to work. So that, like, there's a lot of. It's a really tough job building,
Yeah.
and you really got to go in deep. But there's so many opportunities that things could go wrong. Like
Mm,
that's why you got to triple check your work. You got to have the right
yeah.
insurances. You got to have the right employees, and you've got to be always committed, like to go above and beyond. And sometimes, like going above and beyond is like detrimental to your own mental health.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I attach myself with clients and the emotional status to them because I pride myself on my work. And you're not always going to have great clients. One out of the four clients I have are good.
Yeah. So when you like when you talked about what life was like beforehand, like you went on, you're a contestant on like The Bachelor twice.
Yeah,
When you
three
went,
times.
oh, we on it 3 times. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
When you
Yeah, you
when you
think I'd
went
give
on
up
that,
after yeah.
were you going on it like genuinely to try to find someone to settle down and get married, or was it like an ego and status thing?
To be completely honest, it was like, fuck it, give it a go.
Yeah.
If you find love, it was all worth it. If you don't, you've had a great experience.
Yeah.
That's how I looked at it. It's like I would rather give something a go and embarrass myself
Yeah.
than to sit there going shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah.
And it was like if I get on this, I'm going to give it a go. And I was partying so much when they first got me to apply for it. I was like, there's fucking no way they're going to let this party boy dipshit get on TV.
Yeah.
And I did. I got on and I was like, fucking cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, it happened. I kind of always knew that my personality was better than being on throwing around a hammer all day at work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gave it a go.
Yeah. So, have you been watching White Lotus?
Everyone tells me about it. I haven't.
You should check it out. I really like it. Like the third season just finished then. But what it does, sort of got it's like this like sort of dark, dry humor, but the creator I think does an excellent job of putting characters in that are like a typical archetype of modern society. And he really he gets the character angles just bang on. I was watching it, and I was thinking about our episode sort of coming up, and I was thinking about you. I was like, you almost were, from what I can gather, like outside looking in, like a perfect example of like one of these character archetypes on this show.
I'll have to watch it then, mate.
Definitely, like a guy who's like, charismatic, loud, on the surface, happy, goes on a reality TV show a few times, hitting heaps of drugs, good looking guys, seeing lots of different girls, and then you just completely crashed out and pushed that archetype to its limit. Maybe let's talk about like what happened. Where did you get to at the end of that?
Well, I'm only just sort of learning a lot about myself, and because you're so confused when you're in that like drug spiral that it's all you really know. And I guess I hit the drugs since I was like 15, 16.
Yeah,
It was the pingers and stuff like that. And a lot of my trauma was based on breakups in
yeah,
relationships because I never actually worked on myself after it. I just numbed it and, covered it up with drugs and never gave myself emotion. So I'd be upset all week and then I'd party, rip in, and then I'd be like, woe is me.
yeah,
And my self confidence just depleted. And then I got to this stage when I could go on TV and it skyrocketed.
mm-hmm.
And then I got all this attention and before that I was not getting as much attention. Like I was still doing well for myself, but like, 10% of what happened, like 10% before the show aired. Um, and it got to a stage of just like self pity for myself because I was just going out so much.
Yeah,
Um, And then, like, you start having drugs when you're going out and you're bendering and you're partying. And then, like, you get in these toxic relationships and slowly but surely it starts chipping away at your mental health. And you just start in this downward spiral and it starts to go do drugs when you're outside and partying to then benders when you're back at home to then every now and again doing it by yourself to just always doing it by yourself around no one because you just had this self shame that you didn't think you were good enough and no one deserved you or you just didn't deserve anyone.
yeah. Did you enjoy, because it like, I think you spoke about this on the episode with Ash, but like, I mean, particularly sort of cocaine usage here in Australia is just so normalized now. Like, just sort of everyone does
Absolutely.
it. Did you have periods through your 20s where you were loving life and enjoying it, or were you always dealing with sort of trauma there? And was it always sort of an escape from something?
Man, to be honest, it was always an escape.
Right. Did you?
Like, I love to be the center of attention. Like, because I was the youngest and I had two older brothers and mum and dad were busy all the time with work,
Yeah.
I just seeked acceptance in partying and that was my life. Like
Yeah.
partying every weekend was my life. Yeah, I struggled all the time with finding myself because I thought the real me was when I was partying because I could be the center of attention,
Mm,
the funny guy and always the one that was up to partying. And I guess I look at that like that was my only escape from reality
yeah.
because I was never really happy. And I mean, like, there's a like I can't maybe my memory's just fucked, but this I can't remember a night where I was like, whoa, like in the movies that was the best night of
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah,
life,
yeah.
like, whew, and then go to sleep and be like, yeah, dude, that was so good, like nothing can top that. It was always pushing the limits, like I had fun benders, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
we would crazy fun benders, but it was definitely, and I've never thought about this, man. Like it's definitely always to mask my hurt
Yeah.
and my trauma.
Did you have a tough upbringing as a kid, or was it more a dynamic of
No.
being the youngest of three that you're sort of forced to be an attention seeker?
Well, I never felt heard.
Yeah.
I have ADHD, and mum and dad were so busy just trying to put food on the table with work, and I used to think that there was no love at home because it was just male testosterone house.
Yeah.
My mum was working constantly. She was like trying to make ends meet. But I was like, well, fuck, there's no love here. But that was because they were working so hard to
To
give us
provide.
the
Yeah.
perfect upbringing, yeah, to provide us, that I thought I would seek it elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I had two older brothers that my oldest one's 6 years apart and one's 3 years apart. And like when I was 15, they were 18 or like 21 kind of thing. And
So you grew up early.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I played a lot of sports when I was young, like a crazy amount. And I channeled a lot of my energy towards sports,
Hmm.
especially rugby league. But then I hit the drugs, man. And,
Yeah.
that my career was supposed to be probably football,
Yeah.
but we never got there. I actually ended up loathing it and hating it
What's
because my back,
what sort of
yeah,
level
sorry.
did you play?
I was playing state.
Yeah. Okay. So you're like good
And
player.
then yeah, and then I was trying to go for Aussies,
Yeah.
um, and I started playing union instead as I went through high school, and slowly. Sorry, what actually fucked me up was because I was playing this when I was young, and then they put me on ADE tablets,
Yeah.
um, and I slowly started losing my confidence. So I started doubting myself so much more,
Yeah.
and I got away from league and went into union, and I was a fullback and winger. And then as it got to like year 12 and that, I just faded everything out because, by that same, I was doing drugs every week and I was selling drugs that like the last thing I wanted to do was go on a bender and fucking play football.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I did. I still did. But,
It became
my
a
love,
burden.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And then, so I think that tells a story of how your life sort of became what it was in its 20s and then early 30s. Can we talk now about the sort of spiral and the end of it and what actually happened there?
Sure. As in like,
Basically,
well, like
you died. I
yeah,
mean, you died, didn't you?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. I had three, I've had two near fatal seizures.
yeah,
Well, the first one was pretty bad where I got resuscitated and I was out and all my friends were crying and one of my mates was actually on the phone to the ambos and he was vomiting because he's like, my mate's dead. So all have been quite severe.
yeah.
The last one was obviously the worst, mate. That was I don't know how I'm still here, mate. Like I
Mm,
don't, I don't like it's like pretty crazy when I think about it. And I'm actually writing a book at the moment
hmm.
about it all, which is pretty cool. Um, but man, I was just pushing it. I was just in such a self-hating, no motivation, just like weak-minded, emotionally unstable, emotionally immature, and just like self-loathing took over. And the only thing that gave me happiness and satisfaction was drugs.
Yeah,
And I was on the phone to a mate the other day, and we were speaking, and I was like, man, I could be by myself and hate it. And as soon as I had a line, it was like someone was there with me.
mm,
Like I would never sit around just talking to myself,
yeah,
but like I felt like I was in the moment. I felt like I was content. I felt like I could focus. I just felt like I could have a conversation. I could understand my emotions. And I had a porn addiction as well, so it was like like,
Yeah.
as Theo Von says, gave me an excuse to touch my wiener. You know, it was all those things that gave me that dopamine release, the artificial dopamine release, that I thought that was the only way that I could be happy.
Yeah. And with it, did you only ever have 3 seizures? Like, were they all drug induced, or was it?
Or drug induced.
Yeah.
But I tell you what though, because I had to have had a seizure, because one time I came home from a bender and I was asleep, and I don't know what happened or what it did, but I woke up one morning, went to work like nothing had happened, but I had these massive gouges in my, and I was like, oh, what the fuck happened? I must have bit my mouth when I was asleep, but they were so big that I was like, oh, whatever. But after I had my near fatal one, the last one, the same sort of gouges in my mouth were resemblance there when I did it when I was asleep.
Yeah.
So I think I've actually had one when I'm asleep.
Yeah.
I've been asleep.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? It had to have been one when I'm asleep.
Yeah. And on the last one, so were you dead? You literally died only once, or has that been multiple times?
to be honest, man, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that the last one was the worst.
Yeah.
Because I sort of came to see the first one. I had two mates gave me CPR.
Yeah.
As well, and blew oxygen in my throat.
Yeah.
And they say they helped save my life.
Yeah.
And then the second one I came to by myself.
Yeah.
But the second time, man, I had it's like someone had thrown a full bucket of saliva on me.
Right.
Water on me. So like my whole side of my shirt was so wet. And I was like, that can't, what's going on? That's not spit.
Yeah.
So I must have just been almost throwing up on myself because it was a lot of liquid. The third one, there was 2 people going back and forth, and then the ambulance had to come and then redo it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd actually pissed myself.
Yeah.
I'd released my bowels.
Yeah.
So I think the last one was that was it.
Did you have any sort of I mean, this is a whole nother rabbit hole, but as someone who's been in it, did you have any sort of
Yeah, here we go. I know exactly.
the whole near death experience thing?
Did I have a epiphany in it?
Yeah, I because I've watched a bunch of YouTube videos on all.
Did I see the other side?
Yeah, that thing they call NDEs or near death experience.
No.
Nah.
Absolutely not.
Do you have memory of it?
I remember no. So I remember sitting there wanting to leave, got up and sat back down, and then just went. And I don't even know when it happened.
Yeah.
Or my biggest memory is waking up.
Yeah, so there's just a blackness, a lack of time.
Yeah. So I've thought about maybe doing an ayahuasca ceremony or something like that, which is definitely on the cards, or a mushroom ceremony.
Yeah.
But I'm not ready for that. But that's when I might open up and start seeing what happened. I actually did a breakthrough breathwork thing where I saw my body laying down and my soul coming in and out of my soul coming in and out of my body.
Yeah.
So that was the closest thing that I had seen. So I was laying down when I was doing this breath work. Then I had my eyes closed, and what I saw was a blue silhouette of a soul going in, out, out slowly, and then go back into my body.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just sort of drifted out, and it almost went to a vertical stage, and then it snapped straight back into my body.
Yeah.
And it connected again. And that was probably the biggest breakthrough that I had from it. That was quite intense to see.
Yeah.
But from my seizure, I have absolutely no memory.
Yeah.
And I can remember my dreams every night.
Yeah.
I can control them. I can remember pretty much 90% of them.
Right. Okay.
So I'm pretty aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And there was just nothing.
Nothing. Interesting. So when you woke up and were resuscitated from that final one, What made you like? Why'd the switch flip then, and you decided to get yourself sober?
Mate, like I'd been trying for so long, I because that was the third big seizure,
Yeah.
and like that was like my parents actually came into the room then. It was like, but I didn't stop after that seizure.
Mm,
I actually had another incident when I was dating a girl. Like my ex-girlfriend had slept with someone when I was in hospital
hmm.
because we were on the rocks. And after I got out of hospital, I got on it again.
Yeah.
And after that was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So I had to move back home with mum and dad. They had to monitor me.
Yeah.
Like I had to fucking do everything I possibly could to box me in to fuck up, to
Was
not
that
fuck
as
up.
was that assisted? Like, did you start a sort of rehab program, or this was just off your own will initially?
Well, I was living by myself, and after I got out of hospital, I had to renovate the place I was renting because we like it was just I had to do it quickly
Yeah.
for him because I wasn't working and I couldn't work because I'd been fired from my job. I was like, how am I going to cover rent? So I was trying to renovate the place I was living at to cover my rent and a little bit of extra for food. But I was fucked. I had a cracked sternum when I was trying to like lift these beams in and shit.
Yeah. From the CPR.
And yeah,
Yeah.
that's when I got on it again, and I just freaked out. And when I moved back home, I had to do a full process of elimination, and mum and dad had to check on me when I was asleep so I wouldn't escape. And I then went into
Mm.
rehab. I was like 2 months sober before I went into rehab. Um, and yeah, mate, it was a full process, man. I couldn't even afford to get my car. Man, I was spending every drop on the pokies, every cent I got on the pokies
Yeah.
and drugs. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I couldn't afford petrol. Sometimes I couldn't have to afford to eat because I'd just blown 3 grand the night before on fucking the pokies. And like
Yeah.
my car was at rego. My whole car was beaten up. Like someone wrote it off, and I got a cash settlement for it, and I spent it all on drugs.
Yeah. Yeah. And just kept driving the car.
But yeah,
Yeah.
and it was fucked.
Yeah. And so, how long ago was that now?
So, mate, I still couldn't afford to get my car registered. That was over a year ago. So that
Yeah.
was like probably January last year.
Yeah.
January, February, where I had to get some money together, and mum and dad wouldn't obviously lend it to me because I'd fucked them over so many times.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So I had to convincingly work, save money, give it to them, and then get my car registered, and then drive around. And like no one would register it. I had to do a dodgy and go to my mate and try and get him to fucking register it because it
Yeah.
was like
A
it
write
was
off.
fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. And so,
Yeah,
how long sober now?
mate, it'd be like a year and like 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah.
So it was like the 7th of January.
Yeah.
Yeah, 15 months.
How hard is it? Because, like, I mean, you've made it.
Fuck man, every day it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like, you're clearly an addictive personality. You have like an addictive personality. You spoke about not just
Yeah,
drugs, but it's porn, it's pokies, it's anything that you can be addicted to. Have you had to cut out everything?
yeah. I don't drink at all, like
Yeah.
nothing.
But
Like
but I mean
I'm
like
off my
everything else, like any other
and I'm
vice.
not on any.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on. Like it's hard for me to watch porn,
Yeah.
and like I try and not do it because that's like. I mean, mate. To be honest, if I can not masturbate, then I can. That's like the strongest urge because if I can control that, I can control anything. Because if I watch that porn, then my motivation drops, my like confidence drops, my everything drops, my like persistency and everything. And it just leads me into a bad spiral of, oh, fuck it, it's all right. Like I'm depleted. I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like as soon as it happens, I'm depressed.
Yeah. What's helped you the most?
Man, I'm very thankful for so many things, but I've just told myself there's no coming back, mate. You've given it too much of a nudge that it's just death now.
Yeah.
I've had to do a lot of work on myself. I have a life coach that I work with. And honestly, man, what helps me a lot is putting stuff on social media.
Mm.
But I had to take a long time to get in there. Like, there's so many people that get sober and they just blast their
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
social media with it, but they're actually not doing the internal work. They're getting that self gratification from the external part, and then that's a dopamine hit. Like, I had to pump myself full of biofuel tuning, like therapy, rehab, breath work, training back again, listening to myself, ice baths, saunas, choosing those bad days and dealing with it head on to then be comfortable with putting stuff on social media.
Yeah.
The attention's great, but it keeps me accountable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's amazing to see how many people, like, I've got to go pick up a guy pretty soon that he's in the fireys, and he's just come out of rehab, and I've just helped him.
Yeah.
I've just helped him, get out of rehab.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like it's one of the reasons that I like started doing this podcast is just the realization of just how many people are out there that are just struggling. And like
Yeah.
the answer to what's the point anyway for so many people in this sort of society that we have created is that like there is no point.
No.
And there's so much like
No.
nihilism. And so where have you got to, like, let's dig into some of these rabbit holes. Where have you got to on the whole sort of existential questions?
Mate, I don't know. Hey, you don't mind if I'm just out of the
No,
picture
that's
here,
fine.
do
Yeah,
you?
yeah. We're
Yeah,
audio,
okay,
so
so
it's cool.
sick. Mate, I've got so many mates are conspiracy theorists, and I thought like, but like I was just not open to anything else by what I knew. You
Yeah,
know, I was only like, okay, this is going to happen because of this, and because I just was stuck in this same mind frame that I know better. I only know what's going on
yeah,
because I'm just hanging around the same people and the same bullshit all the time. But look, the rabbit hole for me, either way, whatever scenario, if we're in a firmament, what's it called? Firmament or
firmament.
something?
Yeah,
Yeah. Or there's a never ending universe.
yeah,
It's all way too much for me to
yeah,
comprehend
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
what else are we if we're just in a fucking speck in one universe, which is a speck inside another universe, and it's just endless?
Yeah,
That blows my mind just by that.
yeah.
And then if we aren't under a dome, who the fuck is controlling the dome? And who's put the glass there? And what bigger person or what is controlling us?
Yeah.
You know, it's not like someone just built a big helicopter and dropped it over like the Simpsons episode, but like, it's
Or
just
the
like,
Truman Show. You probably watched that now through.
yeah, I
Yeah,
have.
yeah, yeah.
But then also, like, if that's the case and we are on a flat Earth, then what the fuck? How does that work behind, and what's underneath, and where are we? How can it just be a floating flat rock in the middle of nowhere? And then I'm like, well, okay, maybe it's the Matrix.
Yeah,
Like, maybe this is just a simulation, and I'm pretty open to the thought of a simulation. But then it's like, fuck, I've been dead. I would have seen, shit like that,
yeah,
but I didn't.
yeah,
So I really just don't know.
yeah,
Like, and it's. I do believe highly that we are fully controlled in whatever we do. There are those big things. I don't believe in the COVID.
yeah,
I do believe that the 9/11 was definitely a setup,
yeah.
because it's just a way of America to control the world, really, and fucking maybe poor Osama bin Laden just getting fucking hide and seek for 10 years.
Well, there's a whole thing
But
that
that's,
he was a There's a photo of some CIA agent that looked exactly like him. That Osama was essentially just like a made up figure.
right.
I don't know. It's funny. You're
But then who the fuck's following him all through the wars and shit? Like,
Have you gone and
I don't
read
know.
Orwell, or have you read Orwell's 1984 now?
No.
Have you heard?
I'm not a massive reader. I can only do audiobooks.
Yeah, the problem with you could do audiobooks of it. Have you heard of it? George Orwell, 1984.
No.
You gotta look at it. It's like it
Oh.
was written in the
when did he write it? Probably the 60s or something. And it was a like super famous novel, but it was about sort of this like dystopian future. And yeah, he gets a lot of it bang on. They actually made a movie about it, but the movie is horrific. So
Okay.
don't watch the movie, but you could probably audiobook it. But yeah, if you're sort of where I was probably 3 years ago, to be honest. I've gone down all these rabbit holes. I've probably worn myself out on them now though.
So what's your thoughts then?
So I became Christian. That's
Right.
three was it end of 2021? So yeah, 3.5 years ago. And
Okay.
I was like a hardcore atheist before that, and I took a few steps to get there. I went to the existentialist position, which is sort of similar to what you are. That basically everything is just randomness, and we're just sort of silly evolved monkeys trying to create
Yeah.
systems to make sense of it all, and it's all a waste of time.
Yeah.
And then that was pretty bleak for me, and then I just I really ended up tackling the God question, and really like, is there meaning or there isn't? And if there is, what is it? And then I started going to a church, and I was like, I even said to the priest at the time, I was like, I don't know if I can't get on board with all of this, but I find no meaning in anything else out there. And even if it's just the culture of it, I feel like I need to attach myself to something. And then I just became convinced of the Gospels. And yeah, it's 3.5
Do
years
you
ago.
think you were just looking for like something to attach yourself to though? Like with all due respect?
No, I completely appreciate it. That question, I don't take it personally or anything either. I think it's a good question. And I think the answer is yes. But then there's also the verse in the scriptures is like, you seek and you shall find. Like I wasn't looking for anything before because I was the god of my own world. Do you know what I mean? And I sort of I reached the end of that. So I wasn't looking for anything because I didn't need any answers. But then I realized at the end of that my answers were pretty crap.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely came after a period of humility. If I wasn't seeking, I don't think I would have found anything. But to sort of answer maybe the skeptical part of that question, like, did you just latch onto something because it made you feel good? Before that, I latched onto a whole bunch of stuff. Like I went really deep on the whole like Stoicism school of thought, which I think is a great way of even looking back now, I still think there's a lot of really good in the Stoic sort of philosophy and thought. But if it wasn't true, in the end, I felt like it was a coping mechanism, and I couldn't attach myself to it when I didn't think it was fully true. I felt the need to search for something that was truer, and in the end, I found that with Christianity. If I didn't think it was true, I know I would have left by now.
Yeah. I mean, in these 12 steps, it does make me want to, like, they do kind of want you to see have like a higher
It's
power,
a
they
higher
say.
power, isn't it? Yeah. Which is not named or anything. Yeah.
No, it's a higher power of your own
Yeah.
understanding. And like, I, I'm, look, either way, in this world, there has to be something bigger than us,
Yeah.
right? Like, there has to be, I just think that I don't believe the news and whatever that shit, papers, it's all fucking garbage. It's just, I believe they're just feeding us what they want us to. I'm a bit more woke than that. I'm trying to tell my dad this, but he's stuck in his old ways
Did
because that's all they
just
know.
quickly before you go on, did you always think that, or has that been a new realization? Because I was always a bit skeptical, but the last 4 years have just flipped me way over the other side of the spectrum compared to like mainstream. Like, have you gone through a?
Mate, yeah, I've definitely, oh, man, I don't think I believed it as much as I do now,
Yeah.
but I never used to watch the news
Yeah.
anyway. So,
Yeah.
but I probably, no, I'm so much more woke to it because my eyes are more open.
Yeah.
You know, I'm bouncing at a high frequency and I do believe the universe speaks back.
Yeah.
So I believe in the energy. especially after my breathing breakthrough breath work. That was so hectic. Like that was the most insane thing that's ever happened to me just through breathing.
Mm.
My body was like fucking convulsing. I had 3 people like holding me down. It was like my whole body cramped. I went limp. I tried to walk. Then I started bursting out in tears.
Was that
Like it was
like
like
in the very first session that you did?
very first session I did.
Yeah.
And that's the only one I've done like that. I've done small breathwork things where I've done like biofield tuning where they use these magnetic forks and they clear the energy through your speak and the chakras and all that, like woohoo. But I'm open for the energy,
Yeah.
and I do believe you 1000% you have a frequency. And I believe that is my maybe higher power, my own energy, and what I give out in the world, and how I speak to myself. Because you talk negative, you're going to be negative. You know, you seek positivity, you're going to be positive.
Yeah.
Your brain, you can trick your brain just even if you're pissed off, just by smiling.
Yeah.
It doesn't know.
Yeah.
It's like when you're angry at someone, they say something funny, and then you just go, "Oh, why was I fucking angry?"
Yeah.
Like it's like you can change your perspective online.
Yeah.
I actually have to go to a meeting though, bro. But like I would love to do like a part 2 or something like that. If you wanted to do something, we just kind of lost a bit of time this morning because I've got to pick up one of my mates for an NA meeting. So
Now
mate,
let's.
I've got to
Yeah,
thing it.
that's totally fine. Let's do a We'll carry it over until part 2.
For sure. I want to get onto this because I wouldn't mind hearing your sides, the Christianity,
Yeah.
because
Well, you mentioned Theo
I
Von, like he's Christian, isn't he?
yeah. I'm not too sure, mate. I disconnect and I detach myself from. I went to a Catholic school. I'm baptized. I've got the
Yeah.
crucifix.
Yeah.
I've got that
Yeah,
tattooed on my, and I didn't know why.
I've got a cross.
I never know why I got
It's
that.
funny. I've got a cross on my ankle that I got well and truly before I got it when I was like 20, and I was an atheist.
It's crazy. Yeah. So I don't know why I got that.
Yeah.
So I am open for the fact of God if it does come into my life.
Yeah.
Because anything to keep me in the right direction and anything to give me internal happiness is what I'm willing to take.
Yeah.
Like I need to be open and to keep me sober, mate. If it means cutting off my nipples or like something wild like that, just to keep me sane and happy and sober, I'll do anything for it.
Yeah. No, I hear. I mean, there's more. Yeah, I mean, there's. We work out that there's more to this. So let's carry it on. Let's have a another chat. I don't know. I'll hit you up on messages and we'll continue on in part 2. But
yeah,
I love getting to know you, and hopefully then we can work out this screen issue that we had last time too.
Yeah, for sure, mate. Yeah, I'd love that. Look, it's been awesome. But I've really got to check on my mate and grab him. And yeah, man, let's do a part 2. Let's organise that really soon.
Sounds good, Davey. Good to meet you, bro.
Mate.
See you later.
You too, mate.
Bye.
Bye, buddy.
How's things anyway?
Good, mate. Good. Just been away at my mate's farm for like 3 days.
Yeah.
Get out of Sydney. I actually had a pretty funny chat with with their mate and their missus, and tried to explain to him that I don't really know what we live in and what we're surrounded by. And he's such I try to touch on the basis of like the flat earth, and I say I'm not a flat earther, but I'm not sure what to believe because we're brought up in this world
where they're like the globes in the classroom, so we just
exactly right, and we're just told like the news. We're just told what to believe.
Yeah.
And he thought that it was like social suicide, what I was saying. And I was like, man, like, I'm just open for anything. Like, there's so many facts on both sides.
Yeah.
There's massively with Antarctica that I'm worried about.
Yeah.
The dome, I don't know much there.
Yeah.
But then, like, you look at like let's get straight into it.
Yeah.
I'm more like inclined that there's universe, like there's more stuff in space.
Yep.
Because when you look at like the pyramids and those coils,
Yep.
it looks like that's shooting into the sky.
Yep.
Or is it a massive conductor to blow up the dome? Who knows?
So where have you? Yeah, so it's funny. Did I mention? No, I think I mentioned to the last guest I had on how like I'm comfortable looking at any conspiracy or any theory.
Yeah.
Like if someone, and I think the last 5 years have done that. That it's just like no, there's too many things that I thought were true that I now know aren't. But also the conspiracy world itself is just a labyrinth of misinformation and stuff as well. So like I've seen like people can put together these and they sound really good, like theories around. And I think I think a lot of the flat earth guys fall into the mistake of doing this. That where I'm at on it is I think it's clear that NASA tells a lot of lies and there's enough
Yep.
there's enough ways you can debunk sort of the official globe story so that like you can see far enough onto the horizon that with the curvature that you are meant to have, you shouldn't be able to see objects as far as you can. But what the flat earth guys do, I think, is make the mistake of saying, well, because those two things are proved, I can prove them to be false, therefore it must be flat. Whereas I'm sort of like, well, maybe it's just a far bigger globe, or like it sort of could be anything. And I've landed on the point where I have absolutely no idea what the shape of the earth is.
Yeah, I'm so with you.
Yeah.
And I actually went further and I called a mate who's a pilot.
Yeah.
And I said, look, man, is the world round or flat? And his exact words were, what the fuck do you think, mate? I'm like, well, I feel like it's round, but I don't know. And he goes, it's fucking round. Like, he was pretty,
That's what
just
he
like,
said.
dude,
Yeah.
don't ask dumb things. And I was like, okay. Like, but then you look at the flight paths and they just
They don't
make
make
sense.
sense either. Yeah.
But it makes sense if it is flat.
Yeah. But then they don't all make sense. There's also some errors with the flat theories around flight paths. They'd be like, hey, this proves it's flat, but then you can also point to some flight paths that don't totally make sense on their flat model either.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it all contradicts itself. And it's like,
Yeah.
I do believe that we're being controlled.
Yeah.
I feel like massive. My eyes are definitely that we do get controlled.
Yeah.
There's so many things, but like how they get away with it, I guess it baffles me.
Yeah.
But like, you see like a fucking homeless person, and he starts talking shit,
Yeah.
or like government conspiracies, and I'm like, man, he's actually not crazy.
Nah.
He's just homeless.
Yeah.
Like,
So I got a funny story, right? So I sort of went, I've always been skeptical, but I was more or less I was sort of like in the camp where I always knew the world was corrupt, but I was like, so be it, and I'll make my way within it. And I didn't worry too much about sort of bigger questions like this. And then when COVID hit, I went off the rails. I was like, this whole world is a lie, and I don't know how can I continue to live and exist within it when every single thing that I've believed since I'm a kid is all false. And I had this funny experience with I actually regret doing it now, and I'm glad that it didn't come through. But with the whole vaccine thing, I was like, I'm not getting this vaccine. And then someone was like, you know what, like they don't check your ID when you go in to get the jab. So you can just get anyone to go and do the jab. And if they say they're you, then you get the pass. And I was like, maybe I'll just pay someone to go and get the jab for me, right?
well, yeah.
So I was in the city and I just went up to these like homeless guys. And again, I look back on it from a morality point of view now and I'm like, I wish I didn't do that, but I didn't. It's one of 1,000 or 1,000,000 mistakes that I've made in my life from a morality perspective. But I go to this group of of this group of homeless dudes. I was like, oh, hey guys, I was like, I don't really want to get this jab. Do any of you guys want to do it? And I'll give you like $200 for going in, and you just say you're me. And these guys, they like came over. One of them's like, nah, I'm not going to do that. And he's like, oh, this guy will do it. And he came over and he's like, so what do you want to do? I was like, do you want to go in and get this jab? And they're like, and the other guys are giving him shit because obviously he's like a heroin addict. He's like, he jabs himself with anything. This guy, like, he'll be happy to go and do it. And this guy's like, and this was pretty, like, I don't know, this is like the end of 2021. And he's like, nah, not that jab. I know, so it's like the whole of, I live in Melbourne, you're in Sydney, like 95% of our population went to get the jab. And it was like these homeless guys that everyone thinks has no idea what's going on. They were the ones that were smart enough to work out, like, I don't want that stuff in me.
It's crazy.
Yeah. My whole perspective on like wisdom and who's smart and who's with it. I look at a lot of these, like, I look now at homeless people in a really different way.
Same.
I'm like, they've worked out. This system's completely cooked. Like, they're in many ways more honest than everyone else.
I know, but because they're breaking the normality of what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Crazy people, like, and I'm not glorifying being homeless, but like, I'm more open to their opinions about stuff because they just don't want to be controlled, mate. And like, you think about it, like when you break down like a weekly work sheet, 2 out of the 5 days you work goes to tax.
Yeah.
Pretty much 1 day, 2 days goes to rent or mortgage.
Yeah.
And pretty much the other day is buying food.
Yeah. So there's
what the fuck can you do the other days? Like, and yet you got to pay all this tax and all this bullshit just so they can control us.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck this shit. Why? Especially being a builder, man, you're busting your ass. I know you can use tax for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you can, but you still got to pay for it.
You still got to pay it. Yeah.
You still got to pay 30% of what you make.
Yeah. So, you know, I heard it. Someone made a really funny point about this, and it's so true. Like, if you read the book of Exodus, like the second book of the Bible, and everyone, even if you're Christian or not, sort of knows his story, how like Pharaoh was controlling the Hebrews and then, supposedly working them to the bone, and then eventually they revolted and Moses sort of led the revolt. But if you read that story, Pharaoh, and everyone knows of Pharaoh as this like controlling, wicked, sort of evil dictator ruler. What he was doing so wrong was charging them 20% tax on their crops. That's like 20% tax would be a low tax regime now. And and that was the cause of a revolt. Like here, if you make more money, you're paying like 30, 40, almost 50% tax on the dollar. It's insane. But it's just become so normalized now.
Yeah, I know it's something that has to be done, but
so
why the fuck do we have to work?
So where have you got to on the control question? Who do you think's doing the controlling, and what's their objective?
CIA.
Yeah. But why?
Government.
What
the government can? Well, I feel like the CIA is dodgy, and I don't know, like there's a higher power than the CIA, and that's like that the movie that's based on Men in Black.
Yeah.
That's like a higher form of CIA, which is higher than the governments and all that kind of stuff, which controls everything, which is probably a privately owned company.
Yeah.
That would literally just pull the strings and everything. And I mean, like there's the Rothschilds and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people believe that, but then you come down there. Every time I hear that word Rothschild, I think of Antarctica.
Yeah. So what's your view on Antarctica? Because there's a whole ice wall theory.
I've only just started getting into this because like I hate watching it before bed because like I'm just like, why the fuck am I getting up in the morning? And I work for myself and I'm pretty happy with work and make good money and all that sort of stuff. But at the moment, I'm doing a lot for cash. You know, I'm like, fuck. I'm buying things that I've always wanted to buy
Yeah.
without hesitation
Yeah.
because I'm just like, I don't have a mortgage. I don't have family. You know, I'm like buying clothes and buying everything to set me up for my business, but transferring money when I have to pay it online
Yeah.
for my tax reasons.
Yeah.
But to go back on that, I don't know who would control it. And with the Antarctica, like there's proof that there's a massive hole
Yeah.
in Antarctica, and they've got bases of every country around it.
Yeah.
They've got places where where NASA owns. They've got places where you can't go. Like 80% of it's on hasn't been sort of discovered, or, so to speak, or you
Yeah.
can't access
You
it
can't fly
because
over
it's
it.
cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, why can't you fly over it?
Yeah.
Like you've got these fucking airplanes that can happily glide through.
Yeah.
Why can't you?
Yeah.
There's places. What's that guy that always talks about that? Anarchy, Anarchy tribe or whatever people. He's like this black guy scientist that debunks so much stuff. I can't remember his name,
I don't
but
know.
he's just like a lot of places like that are closed off. I think he said the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard
There's a
some stuff about the Grand Canyon.
there's places that are blocked off that are owned by NASA.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as you said before, there are there's too many shit videos of NASA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I completely understand the whole not being able to go back to
Moon.
the moon
Yeah. Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
when we got better technology now. It's just doesn't make sense.
So that I feel like now, like saying you don't believe in the moon landings, that's not even. I feel like that's not even fringe now. Like I know,
Yeah.
yeah, that's sort of accepted. And it's the funny thing, even though I don't hold to the view, but like flat Earth, I would have thought like discussing flat Earth 8 years ago, you would have been like, this guy is a complete lunatic. But I've had flat Earth discussions with all sorts of random guys. Like I was working with a guy last year, and he's like, "What do you reckon about the whole flat Earth thing?" It's like these sort of questions are starting to come into the I won't say mainstream, but
No, you can definitely say that.
yeah,
Because it's the truth.
yeah,
I had the same thing. I have mates that are sergeant at arms in the biking gangs and biking gangs around here.
yeah,
Um, the Finks and stuff, and they said to me that like this is like 5 years ago maybe, and they were telling me that the Earth's flat. I was like,
yeah, right,
"Fuck off, you cooked cunts! You guys of all people believe this shit?" And like, yeah, NASA's the only one that has the rights to the video, the photos of the globe,
yeah,
and you're only seeing. I was like, mate, you guys have taken way too many drugs,
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
you've been doing some dumb shit, and you've hit your head. And now I'm like, maybe they're fucking right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So what about the spirit? What about the question around spirituality? Like, where are you at on and like, you know what I believe, but we don't have to go there yet. But just the idea about like, is there a God? Because I would have thought again, like, I would have put the question of like, is there a God as much of a lunatic question as is the Earth flat 6 years
Yeah.
ago. But it was in starting to realize how wrong I was on other things that I started to say, well, hang on, what about this whole God question? Where are you at on that now?
Nowhere near God,
Yeah,
but there is a higher power.
yeah,
So, I mean, if we're in a firmament, is it what it's called, the dome?
yeah. Firmament's the term that comes out of Genesis chapter 1 and 2, like the very start of the Bible. It's like, but a lot of Christians will use this to prove, like they'll say it proves flat Earth. I don't think it does at all because I don't think the Bible's. endeavoring to tell a scientific story about how
No,
the
it's very embellished.
yeah, well, and it uses hyperbolic language to describe themes. So I think when the Bible uses firmament, so it says, there's the waters above and the waters below, and the earth will be separated from the heavens by a firmament. People are like, well, that's a glass dome that's surrounding us. I think when it talks about the firmament, it's talking about there would be a barrier between man and God, so that man could
Yes.
and that barrier, and then when Jesus came, that sort of references that stuff with the firmament, where then that firmament would be removed. So in the book of Revelation at the end, it's like essentially there is no more firmament, which is sort of, I think, again, not saying that the glass dome would get shattered, but that the barrier for man to know God would be removed through Jesus. But that's where this idea of a firmament comes from.
So I'd probably believe in a God if we are under a dome. That's how I look at it, right? So So my theory is, who the fuck put us in this thing? Who put us in this glassed off sort of area, so to speak? Someone has to be in charge of that. But if we live in the universe, like, I don't believe in the universe is my height.
Yeah. What about aliens? Do you believe in aliens?
Like to.
Yeah.
Like I don't. If we're like, fuck me, I just watched this video the other day of just like, it's so tough to even try and explain, where brains just can't comprehend it.
Yeah.
Like, for the average person, just this speck inside another universe, which is in another solar galaxy, which is a speck through this, which is just like endless amounts of stars and universes and galaxies and whatever. What else is there? What else is out there for us to know?
Yeah.
And then, like, we're stuck on a planet we're paying for, which we were born on, to work endless amounts of hours to get paid fuck all.
Yeah.
And I'm talking for, like, most of us.
Yeah.
Like, you got the 0.05% of the world's richest.
Yeah.
It's fucking, it is doable for us to do, but we're stuck in this, like, trance almost of just today's society of not achieving our goals, because we've got social media that kills our dopamine. We've got all this processed food which kills our energies. Like, you got OnlyFans that just deprives us of just like, or people of just trying to make a successful company. You could bust your ass and this chick just puts her tits out online and triples our pay.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking, you question your motives and everything you're doing around yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I think, did you see that, like, the OnlyFans, so all the NBA players combined,
Yeah.
versus all the OnlyFans players combined, OnlyFans creators, they absolutely blitzed, like, by billions and billions of dollars.
Right, the NBA.
The salary caps for fucking NBA people.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me.
It's just,
it's madness. Yeah. So with this stuff, do you think this is just the story of humanity from the beginning of it? That there's wicked, controlling rulers that want to sort of have dominion over the people and deceive them, or do you think we're living in a particularly weird period?
I think every century or whatever, every era is weird.
Yeah.
Like, we probably look at the Egyptian and go, what the fuck, they're cool.
Yeah.
Like, all that sort of stuff. I just think we're just weak-minded at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that in a way where we're making more money doing lazier things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, fuck. Work smarter, not harder. That's always what I've been told.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, I'm in such a confused time in my life where I'm like, am I trying to save for a mortgage to be locked down for 30 years,
Yeah.
to struggle paying it off, to then
You know what? Do you know what more? Do you know what
rest?
the word mortgage comes from? Have you looked at that one?
No.
So it's basically from it's a French word broken down from mort, which is like the word for like mortuary, and gage. So it basically means death pledge, which is essentially exactly what it is. Because like if you
Yeah.
the best way to control a society is to have them as debt slaves. And we really like, I mean, particularly in Australia, we have a society of debt slaves.
That's how you keep them working, right?
Yeah.
You got to pay their mortgage. But then, like, I mean, I also then believe in like the Matrix and shit like that. You
Yeah.
know? Like, okay, cool. Yeah. I also. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
no, I was trying to turn my phone off. I'm getting work calls. Um, like we also live in this world of you can make reality happen. If you speak it, you can do it and you can manifest these things. So
Yeah.
that makes me more think we're in like a world of the Matrix.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, fuck, we might as well make this enjoyable, our lives.
Yeah.
And I'd rather probably work on businesses and everything before I get stuck in a mortgage because then you're fucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you
Yeah.
have to work the same fucking job.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's interesting. Like I've discussed this on an episode with someone previously, where the period in history, I mean, there's like, this is why a lot of people like flat Earth guys will say it's like a young Earth that we live on, because we only really have about like 6,000 years of recorded history. So sort of 4,000 BC, and then you've got the first century, and then you had this period up until like the, I don't know, 1400s that they call the Dark Ages. And then there's like the Enlightenment period. And we've been, this is one that we've been like hardwired to believe that like the Enlightenment, which has such a great sounding name, was like this period of great progress where there was sort of the separation of church and state started to happen. And then it was all about these like Enlightenment ideas, and truth became subjective, and sort of science came to the forefront of things. And science in itself, I think, is just a total religion. I think the scientific method is great, but when people say like, trust the science, or science says that we evolved and all these sorts of things, I think it's just total nonsense. But it's like, then post-Enlightenment, is pitched to us as this great progress for society. And I look at like the last 300 years, and we've just, that's when sort of debt started, debt-based financial systems started to take control. Education and scientific institutions started to control narratives. And then if you look back at the Dark Ages, like, yeah, sure, you might have still had these kings that may have been jerks, but like, the average person they would live on their own little farm, on a little plot of land. They'd grow their own organic vegetables. They'd have a cow that they'd milk for their own milk. They'd have their own meat. And now, and that was like that would be a peasant. And now in this, like, supposedly we're out of the Dark Ages and we're in this period of enlightenment, and you've got a couple earning $500,000 combined income, working 60 hours a week each, and they're struggling to pay for their mortgage to live in a 400 square meter inner city townhouse. Like, it's
the peasant's life sounds better.
It sounds so much like the Dark Ages sounds so much better than what we've got now.
I know. It's like we're in the future Dark Ages, really.
Yeah. But for me, the difficult thing trying to navigate out of it is just how much everything's an inversion, and how, like, at least in times past, everyone knew the king was a jerk and the king didn't really care about them. And the king knew that as well, but they would just create a system that just worked for everyone, right? Like, whereas now it's like half the population thinks that the king, which has now become like these global governments, are their friends and try to look at, we give them the power to set up health departments to tell us how to be healthy. It's like by not realizing that they don't actually care about us, we've given them all this power that they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very weird period in time.
I know, but unfortunately, we gotta this is the life we're in at the moment.
Yeah.
Really, we can sit here and we can say this government, all this bullshit, but they've got us.
Yeah.
Like they what are we supposed to do? Live on the fucking streets, starve ourselves, not work? Like,
Yeah, that's not
leave
it.
the van.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. They've snookered us in every way that you can't really speak out for yourself without being shut down or look like an outsider. And then you battle the government and you're not going to fucking win because they've fucked us in every way possible.
So where I've landed on it. So
what are you supposed to do?
When I first started to see everything like this, I initially went down the same path that a lot do. Have you started to look into this, like the whole Christian like end times idea?
Say that again.
Like the whole Christian like end times idea. People are like, we're in the end times, and the Bible speaks about all this.
Like, as in, like, the world's going to end. Yeah, I saw this video, and this is how I heard the Simpsons predict their episodes, is they type in the next year into Google and then look at the images.
Right.
And, mate, 2030 is the end of the world.
Right.
So you type in 2024, go to Google Images, and then you read the Bible, whatever the Bible comes to, then 2026, and then you've got this virus, and then 2027, and then you've got a comet and then 2028, the AI, or it's fucking. And I looked it up, and I looked up the year, and then went to the images, and what it is the truth.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, fuck, the end of the world could be coming. It's like, mate, it was supposed to end in 2012.
Yeah.
They had all these, the movie based on one of the biggest trustees of the world, or people that could, read into the, I don't know what her name is, not Mother Teresa. Some fortune teller was supposed to say it was going to finish in 2012.
Yeah, yeah.
And all the world was going to end.
Yeah.
Did it happen? No.
So we're
13 years down the track.
Yeah. So I went right into that, and I've since come to the conclusion that it's all total nonsense. I don't think the Bible speaks at all about the end of world history. And I think all the what we call the end times events in the Bible is actually speaking about the end of like what old covenant Israel was. So it's like the book of Revelation's talking about the end of Israel, which literally happened in 70 AD. So I was stuck in that. I was thinking like this is all predicted. We're in the very final days. And then the more I study it, the more I realize it's actually not telling that story at all. But then I can sit down and watch a really incredibly put together video from like some Christian truther online saying how the world is going to end in 2030, and here's all the proof verses that I'm going to use to show everything now's happening that's been predicted. But now that I see that that's wrong, I realize how they make those mistakes. And then the more you study it, you realize that what we're in now is no different. In 1988, which was like 40, when Israel was established in 1948, all these people were saying, "Oh, this is the sign of the end," and then they were saying like it's going to be 40 years because 40 years is a generation will mean that the end is in 1988. And there was all these books. There was this movie like called Left Behind, Late Great Planet Earth. And all these guys like made a career talking about the end of the world in 1988. And then it happened. And then like I was born in 1988. And, here I am 36 years later. It didn't
I was born in 1989.
Yeah. And it's like so this whole idea and obsession with being at the end of the world, I think it's part of our human nature. We love we love the idea of thinking that we're in this final generation and the world's about to blow up. So I think the more and then you start to think, it's like, imagine if you were living in like 1940, in Europe, you'd be like, oh, this is the end of the world. And then like, imagine you're in France.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have as much technology as we did as well.
Technology
So,
is such a massive factor. It's like, if you're in like France in the French Revolution, you'd be like, oh, this is the end of the world. But what now? This like unnatural media cycle that we have and social media and everything. It's like, if any event happens anywhere in the world, all of us now know about it within a matter of seconds.
yeah.
And so that's got us, I think it's got everyone into this idea that like everything is prophetic, everything is world ending. And I think it's, for me, I've come to the conclusion that the powers that be are nowhere near as sophisticated as I once thought they were. I think groups that are in control of populations have existed in every single generation since humanity began. And they've just got more technology now than they had to implement measures of control. But I think the reason things are getting so weird now is that there's a bit more jostling happening at the top of the tree, and we're coming to the end of a system as we know it, and all the powers are trying to sort of jostle to get control of what's going to happen in the wash up.
Yeah.
Which,
I think more people are more woke.
yeah. But that also, for me, it's changed my perspective on life. That's like, if you get so caught up in this like end of the world stuff, then you're like, well, what's the point of even being here? And
I know.
Yeah. And there's so many Christians are, I think, are like the worst. The ones that are like, we're in the final days, and then their entire life is devoted to just waiting for the end to come so they can supposedly go to heaven. You're like, what point were you even here on this, on this earth?
I know, and yeah. Look, I don't know. You could offend a few people, but what proof is there that heaven's real?
Yeah. No, there's not.
You're like, yeah, you're living this false. Can't wait to reach heaven.
Yeah.
Open the gates.
Yeah.
But like you said, are you even enjoying your time on life? And unless we just fucking wake up and we're taking off a headset and then we're like, whoa, that was a wild fucking movie we just watched, which was our lives, and we in the Matrix again, and then fuck.
Yeah.
Man, life's fucked up, and like I'm actually getting like anxiety kind of thinking about like, questioning my life motive. And
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, the only thing that I really believe in is the energy you put out, the energy you receive.
Yeah.
Staying positive overall is the best outcome. You can manifest your dreams, and like a lot of us are held back by living the normality of work 9 to 5. That's it.
Yeah.
Have a kid, have a family, lock in.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
But it's not really where I'm at.
Yeah.
And what I want to do at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, I used to be so, I've got to have a house by 30. I've got to have kids, family. And it's very hard for me to kind of accept that I'm not going to have a house until I'm about 40.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have kids till I'm like 38, 40. But I'll be doing the job that I want to do, and I'll be internally happy. And like, that's what really matters for me.
Yeah.
And they're my core beliefs.
Yeah.
And even saying that, it's giving me more confidence that I'm on the right trajectory, because buildings for me, for now, I'd rather keep doing something. And you know what holds you back? Your fucking self. You hold yourself back because you're worried about what people think, what society's going to think. But I'd rather just give something a go. And this is why I wear some wild clothes sometimes. So I'm like, I'm not here to fucking impress anybody else. I'm here to wear what I want to like and do what I want to do. And that's what gives me happiness.
Yeah. How are you going with
But
like
confining
the
to
idea
fucking
of how are you going with like the idea of happiness and peace and joy 12 or so months on from your path out of addiction? Like do you have this, and because you mentioned you've done like breath work and you've done some other things, and now you've started to like awaken your mind to some of the traps that we can get caught in. If it's like, I mean, if it's a race and it's 0 to 100, like where do you think you're at on the scale of getting to the other side and getting to a position where you're like, I have peace in this world now?
I think you're ever going to really have complete peace, are you? Man, 20, the number 20 comes to my mind.
Yeah.
I think once I'm really happy in my job, I'll get to 50.
Yeah.
When I see purpose in what I'm doing, 60. When I find my woman of my dreams, 70. Probably by the time I retire, 100. I've got like 10 years of solid stuff to work on. And people go, oh, you're 35, no kids, no mortgage, you're a red flag. And it's like, bitch, you're divorced with 7 kids.
Yeah.
Like, you're the red flag.
Yeah.
Man, sometimes I just constantly question everything now.
Yeah. What about some of the underlying addictions, like stuff like the, whether it's drugs, whether it's porn, does it eat at you till still trying to deal with those? Like if you put, yeah.
Every day, man.
Yeah.
Like, I just went away on my mate's farm to get away from everything. But my 2 best mates were having a beer
Yeah.
all on Anzac Day, and fair enough. Like, they both worked very hard.
Yeah.
That pissed me off a bit,
Yeah.
if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Because, like, we're supposed to go up there and not drink, and, like, I've been struggling lately.
Yeah, right.
Like, they're being disrespectful.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to accept that. It's like I'm selfish. It's like, because you don't drink, because I don't drink around me. But
Yeah.
it's my battle, not no one else's.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to exclude yourself
Yeah.
from things a lot. I had a dream last night that I actually got back on it. And it's funny because my dreams tell a lot. Like, I can control them. And my dreams are like another realm of ideas and everything like that. And I feel like I'm so in touch with my intuition and like just some other part of my brain that not many people get to assess. Like, I have lucid dreams. And in my dream they tell my subconscious. So like, I used to have dreams where I would be like, I'm not touching drugs, and someone would give me a drug in my dream, and I'd throw it away.
Yeah.
And say, I'm not having any of that.
Yeah.
Where this dream I had last night is like, I got on it and I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to be doing this, but like, I've had so long off that it's okay.
Yeah.
And I woke up and I was like, fuck, what is that trying to tell me? And it comes to just the addiction being such a sneaky cunt that it's in my dreams telling me that it's okay to have a drink again. And it's like,
Yeah.
you have to be so strict with it.
Yeah.
So strict with your addiction. You're like a child learning how to walk again. Like, it's crazy to try and navigate your life. And like, my vice is buying clothes.
Yeah.
Keep spending money on food.
Yeah.
Maybe buying some surfboards every now and again. But if I didn't have a vice, what the fuck is the point of living?
Yeah.
Like, you've got to eat healthy. You've got to save your money. Thumbs up. I'm getting a thumbs up here. What's that
I
from?
don't know.
You
It
see
worked.
that?
Yeah, it worked.
What the fuck? You've got to do all these things to be strict in your life, and then you could die. What the fuck's it all for? Why can't you just have fun in between? It's that 80-20 ratio that I think's a bit far-fetched.
Yeah.
80% you've got to be good, 20%. I mean, 50-50 in different aspects. Like, my healthy eating, that's 80-20.
Yeah.
Tossing up between saving money or enjoying my life is 50-50.
Yeah.
Spending money on good things that I'm going to enjoy, cool. Saving money, not my highest thing that I look at. I just enjoy life as it is now. And like, that's why I'm pretty against buying a house now.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be locked into this life that is not me,
Yeah.
regretting every step I took, then going, well, fuck, I'm stuck this way. I might as well just get back on it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just everything in this life I have to do, I have to triple think.
Yeah. So what about, so in a world where I want to lead this question into another one, which is a discussion I've had with a guy who was Christian and is now atheist around the topic of sin. So he thinks sin is a completely made up idea, whereas I think sin is evident, and that someone doesn't have to believe in the gospel to understand the nature of sin, right? But in a world where there's no ultimate meaning, right? So let's say which ultimately is a world apart from God. If there is no God and we are just here and life is what we make it, why not just indulge in pleasures like sex, drugs, alcohol?
Well, I think in that case, they're all artificial.
Yeah.
If you really want to indulge, that makes you have the happiness. Like for me, I like to wear new clothes. I like to surf new boards. I like to eat out.
Yeah.
Like they're the healthy indulgence. I think the negative indulgence is obviously the artificial one.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that's how I look at my indulging now and enjoying my life.
Yeah.
All the drugs do, fuck, they give you a quicker
Yeah.
one for sure. Alcohol, man, like I miss fucking getting fucked up. If I'm honest with you, like I miss going and going to a random place in the country, going to a pub, getting on bags, absolutely meeting fucking random people,
Yeah.
getting blind, going back to your mate's farm where you never go and you're with everyone and you're partying and it's just chit chat and you're just enjoying a different surrounding. I miss that shit.
Yeah.
Creating those memories of different stuff. But I guess that's because that's all I've ever known.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you speak to someone who doesn't drink and they're like, oh, I can't wait to go to this different spot. We go see this different place. We surf these different things, we climb this mountain. But it is all this whole, yeah. I get so confused in life because I know that's what you're supposed to do and you're supposed to like live this healthy, natural life.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's where you grow up that really forms the person you are.
Yeah.
And the people you hang out with, 100%.
Yeah. So do you believe in the idea of sin? Like, do you think there's...
Like when you say, describe it.
So I would describe sin as being separate things that are against the will of God, and therefore things that will separate us from God, right? And when Jesus came, the gospel really was about an end, a way to deal with sin, the sin that exists in all man. And I describe sin as being like, I mean, this is not just me using my words. It's fairly sort of consistent with like how it's described biblically. But it's like sin is like us knowing that going and doing drugs and partying is going to feel good, but we know it's ultimately the wrong thing to do, and that it's going to cause us longer term pain and suffering, and yet still wanting to do it. It's like this, which is like this. And so a lot of people call it human nature. Like another example would be we marry someone or we're in a relationship and we know that we shouldn't have temptations with other women. We know it's the wrong thing to do, and yet we still do it, and we can't help but do it, and we enjoy doing it. And then people will say, oh yeah, well, yeah, okay, I cheated on my wife and I shouldn't have done it and I still love her, but it's just people describe it as, I find a lot of non-Christians describe it as like human nature. So
It is in a way though, like, but it's also weak-minded.
yeah,
And it's also like, because we're tempted everywhere we go, you know, food advertisements, there's fucking tits on Instagram, there's someone always looks better, there's photo editing, like there's temptations everywhere that how could you not? You know, it's like going to an ice cream festival. It's all different types of ice creams around you, but you're lactose intolerant.
yeah,
And you can't, and you've got all these different varieties, and you've got and you know you're not supposed to eat ice cream, but you're surrounded by all this shit.
yeah, yeah,
How can you not feel tempted
100%.
to eat some fucking ice
Yeah,
cream?
yeah,
And you've got everywhere around you tempts you.
yeah, yeah,
It's human nature to feel those temptations because we're surrounded by
yeah,
it. It's how you act on it.
yeah.
But like you said, you can turn the other way. You can delete the social media. You can do everything. It's just how strong-minded you are.
But then that's the problem, right? Is that so the Bible will call them essentially like desires of the flesh. Yeah, our flesh desires that. And you can do everything to mitigate temptation and to remove sin from your life, and yet sin still finds a way. Do you know what I mean? You delete your
Because
throw
it's more appealing.
yeah.
It's more appealing. More appealing because no one, like, you know, how often do you, it's like being so strict, right? And you're always told rules. You're always told to do this, do
Yeah.
that. And you don't always want to abide by what someone says. You kind of need some independence to do it.
Yeah.
And like, it's like I said, if all you're doing is being strict,
Yeah.
you question, why the fuck am I doing this? This is not what I want.
Yeah.
And then you see like a hamburger or something, going like, fuck, I'm just going to get that. I think it's just the temptations of breaking the normality is just to keep you human. And you know what? We have to make these mistakes in life. Coming from a builder who's made plenty of mistakes, it is the only way you fucking learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I almost applaud my workers. I don't applaud it. It pisses me off.
Yeah.
But when they make a mistake, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
I get angry, but I'm like, what can this teach me and what can this teach them? So much to which way is up in this fucking world? You know, we're taught to be men as well and carry family, you know, do this, work this, but yet we're not allowed to talk to our emotions.
Yeah.
But yet, if we open up our emotions, men need to feel comfortable speaking about their emotions.
Yeah.
And if a man opens up to a female and she's shut down or she uses that against him, then we're like, well, we're never fucking opening up to you again.
Yeah.
And then we're like, why did I open up? You know, we cower at opening up. We're cowards to that.
Yeah.
We don't like to be seen as vulnerable, us males. And unfortunately, we got to. And I really want to help change males see this because I see it every day with building because I was there and I still am sometimes that like, we're just stuck doing this fucking job because it's convenient.
Yeah.
We've got to work to support our family. We've got to work to pay the bills. We're scared to do something different because how are we going to pay these bills? So what, we're supposed to be stuck in this dead end job, not dead end, but this job that we're unhappy with for the rest of our lives just to not pay, just to cover these bills weekly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm fucking not doing that anymore. But then I have to because I got to pay fucking bills.
Yeah. Yeah.
So going on podcasts and stuff like this is I take any opportunity because I don't know what they're going to come to me.
Yeah. What's been one of your biggest takeaways from our convo?
Just having like another male experience to just like don't know you from a bar of soap, but just to actually connect. I don't even know what you look like.
Yeah, because we've had this video.
So like, yeah, I'm looking at myself. So it's just good to connect with someone that you know absolutely nothing about. in the other side of Australia
Yeah.
to chat to someone, to connect on different ways, and like know there's other people out there that are as open to you in a conversation which is not, the dinner table talk.
Yeah.
And this is why I take every opportunity to chat on these things, man.
Yeah.
And like I like to help out. So people that, and if I can use my following to help them, or like vice versa, because it helps me in the long run. And I just enjoyed the chat, man. It's been yeah. I'd say that the connection really would be the biggest thing to bring out
Yeah.
from our podcast.
Yeah. No, I've loved chatting to you. Because I love where you're at. I love this. I love the humility in which you're approaching things, and there's something about me that really, from my own journey as well, and just even before when we were talking about, like guys that have been homeless, like I love people. I love the character traits that appear in people that have sort of hit rock bottom and are trying to rebuild out of it. I find that so much more real than people that are just cruising along and think everything is all good and aren't interested in having any discussions on stuff like this.
Yeah. Like I'm grateful for my rock bottom because it's given me a chance to see a whole other point of life. Like I used to sit and on benders and just be a bully and just put down people that weren't even there.
Yeah.
And that is a low fucking human.
Yeah.
And I was so not willing to open my eyes to this because I thought I had all the answers.
Yeah.
But I was a fucking loser. I was doing cocaine by myself.
Yeah.
I was not going to work. I was getting fired, but yet I had all the answers in inverted commas.
Yeah.
And I look at it now and I go, wow, like I'm grateful to still be here. And I actually had a friend's brother just died of a seizure, a drug-induced seizure.
Right. Wow.
And that could have fucking been me as a 3-year-old son.
Yeah.
Or a 3-year-old child.
Yeah.
Great family. And that could have been me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and even though spending my weekend away with my best mate's kids, they gravitated to me beyond belief. They didn't want to drive in anyone else's car but mine.
Yeah.
Three boys following me around. They were wearing all my clothes. They were wearing my sunnies.
Yeah.
They wanted to even wear my fucking socks.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I was dead, they wouldn't have this, like, so to speak, fun uncle to hang out with. And it bummed me out in a positive way, if that's hard to, if you can sort of understand that.
Yeah.
And it made me just go, thank God I'm still here.
Yeah.
And I'm still making an impact on people's lives.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Davey, I'd love to stay in touch too, and just like
Yeah,
be
sure,
there
mate. You got my number?
and I'll add, because I think I follow you from the podcast Instagram account, but I'll add you from the other one. But
yeah, sure.
I'd love to be there as just someone that sort of is another shoulder to lean on and person to chat to whenever you need.
For sure, mate. Yeah, right back at you.
Any questions for me to finish off?
It's going to be a long one, but I'll just, if you do it short. I mean, like, I want to do a podcast myself, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's telling me to do one, but I'm like, every person is doing a podcast.
Yeah.
What gave you the strength to go, fuck it, I'm just going to do one?
I just started doing it. Ties in with a lot of things that have happened with me over the last 4 years, where I just care less and less about what anyone else thinks.
Yeah.
So,
which is great. Yeah.
I've loved it. And I mean, mine's not a huge podcast at all. So I think it's been going like 4 months, and it's like, I look at the listeners and you see like real people that I don't know listening into the chat. Even if you get 5 people, like that's pretty cool in itself. But what it's allowed me to do is, I think this is like episode 37 or something now, which means I've had 37 hour-long conversations with just like cool people that some I've known, some I haven't known, but even the ones I've known, like I did a podcast with like 2 of my best mates, and it's like, if you call them up if you called like if I called them up on the phone, I wouldn't get into the depth that I
Yeah,
get
it'd be
into.
so different, wouldn't it?
You know, same as
Yeah.
like, imagine like I reached out to you. I'm like, Davey, I'd love, for you to come on the show and have a chat. Can you imagine if I was just like a random guy that's like, oh, hey, Davey,
Yeah, no.
do,
I get it all the
do,
time,
do,
mate.
do, do you want to have a phone call for an hour? It's just,
Yeah, I get it all the time.
so the thing I'd say to
Yeah.
you, if you want to do it, is just like, I
do
don't
it.
know where mine is going to go, and I don't even know necessarily what the objective is, but I know that it's allowed me to chat with just really interesting people every week, and it's like it's my favorite thing to do. Like I've had like some, I've had like nobodies, but nobodies that have these amazing stories and awesome life lessons that I've taken a lot from. And then I've had people like, I had this guy Eric Lamarck who played ice hockey in the Olympics. He played NHL, then ended up an ice addict after his career, then went snowboarding, got lost on Mammoth Mountain, spent like 10 days in the snow and lost both of his legs. Had a movie made about him.
Holy fuck.
He's like the most amazing story of anyone alive. And then came out the other side. He became Christian on the other side of it, and now has a kid, like has a great life. He's now training to go to the Paralympics to do snowboarding. It's like Eric and like
I just got
Eric
shivers down my
Eric
spine,
and
man.
I like send each other a message here and there. Like I would have never been able to have a conversation with this Eric Lamarck dude.
Yeah,
I had
man.
Ryan Leaf recently. He was like pick 2 in the NFL draft behind Peyton Manning, then ended up going totally off the rails, went into prison for 3 years, hit complete rock bottom, and now he's 10 years out of that. So it's just, yeah, if you're going to do it, who cares? I'm sure you'll have people tune in and listen to it, but worst case scenario,
Yeah.
you're going to meet some awesome people and be able to just chat about things that you want to chat about.
Yeah, I really get excited and like, yeah, thank you for that because that's just like clarification of like I enjoy these. So like, imagine just doing it, but it'd have to be a hobby for a bit. But
Yeah.
why not? I guess.
Yeah. I'll look forward to it. If you want a guest, I'll be happy to jump on.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
Sounds good, brother.
Oh, mate, it's been amazing, and let's keep in contact.
Sure thing. Appreciate your openness with everything. I've loved chatting with you.
Yeah, you too, mate.
All right. See you, Davey.
Bye, buddy. See you, mate.